Hi, in this module I'm going to show you how to create a spreadsheet from scratch, and I have already opened Microsoft Excel. So Excel presents a blank worksheet. This is worksheet 1 in my collection of worksheets, and I have in mind that I'm going to build a spreadsheet to keep track of student grades. So if you've ever looked at a teacher's grade book before, you know, the little green spiral grade books, you probably have an idea of how the grades are recorded, and I'm going to follow that same format. So in the leftmost column here, in the top row, row 1, I'm going to put in a column heading. So I'm going to label this last name. And I'll also, in the next column to the right, keep track of the students' first names. So first name. I'm going to pretend that I give 3 tests during the course of the semester. So test 1, test 2, test 3. So I'm just moving that cell pointer using the right directional arrow key in case you're wondering. And then I'm going to give a, let's say 3 quizzes. So quiz 1, quiz 2, and quiz 3. Now as I type this data in, I'm using embedded spaces, and there's not any problem with that at all. Later on, when we look at formulas and functions, I will tell you that you cannot use embedded spaces. So it depends on what's being stored in the spreadsheet cell as to whether spaces are permitted or not. And in this case, there's not a problem. This is just text data, you know, to be used by the person maintaining the grades in the spreadsheet, so that they can keep track of what's being stored in each of the columns. And I'm going to give 3 projects too, so let me go ahead and get that in. Project, okay, made a mistake on purpose, and project 2 and project 3. Now once again the grades have been entered in at the end of the semester, I'm going to want to perform a calculation and use those individual grades, those individual scores for the quiz, test, and projects. And when I crunch that number then is going to ultimately determine what letter grade I assign, and also I'm going to set this up so it keeps track of pass or fail. So we'll pretend maybe this is a graduate school class, and you know, it's possible to get a D and pass the class. Maybe for, you know, financial purposes that's useful, but in order to actually receive credit toward graduation, in order to you know, complete your degree, you have to have a passing grade of a C or above. So that'll be the way we work things. Okay, so I'm going to move over here and oops, don't want to put project in. Lost my train of thought. Sorry about that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the calculation and store the calculated result in column L, and I'm going to perform a weighted average. So I'm going to label this WTAVG. And again, the weighted average will determine the grade. So I'll have column M used to store letter grades A through Z. And then I will use column N to indicate whether they pass or fail. Alright, so there's my column headings, and a few things here that I need to attend to before I move on. Number 1, I've made a mistake here in the spelling of project 1. So what I'm going to do is just move the mouse over here, move the mouse over here and highlight the cell, then click. And then I'm going to go to the formula bar and make an editing change. Project, so this should be project 1, and then hit the enter key, and that way I can preserve some of the data that was input into the cell and just go back in and make a little surgical correction. The alternative is, if you've thoroughly messed it up, you could just highlight this, you could just click on the cell so that the cell pointer makes the cell active, and then begin typing and overwrite everything that was in the cell previously. So you can either, in a very selective way, change part of what's stored by editing through the formula bar, or you can just click on the cell and begin typing and overwrite what was there completely. Okay, so there's my column headings. Now another thing I'm noticing here is they don't stand out very much. I want these column headings to really sort of jump off the page. So I'm going to go back to the leftmost column and click and then just drag the mouse. I'm not dragging by the fill handle, that little rectangle in the bottom corner of the cell pointer. I'm just dragging across the cells with the mouse, and then I'm going to go to the fill color tool on the home page here and colorize this, give it some kind of background color. Now hopefully that's going to stand out a little better, and actually I'm going to highlight this and bold it, so many of the things that you know how to do from using Microsoft Word, those skills automatically transfer to Excel. So as you have an opportunity to create a spreadsheet, feel free to explore things and try things that you think will work. Another thing that I notice about this is that these column widths seem to be, especially where I'm storing names, seem to need to be expanded. And in fact, where I'm storing the individual scores, they could even be compressed. So I'm going to deal with the column widths, try to optimize the column widths by showing you two techniques. Now there are many ways to manipulate the column widths, and I can't show you everything at once, but I'll show you two ways that you will probably find pretty handy and use a lot. So on the home page, after highlighting all the cells that I want to change the column width on, I'm going to go to the far right over here where it says cells, and there's a format button. If I click on that format button, one of my options, and I use this a lot, is auto fit column width, and that will compress the column width as much as it possibly can without truncating any of the data that's actually being displayed. All right, so that sort of created an additional problem over here for my column A, column B, where I'm storing names though. So let me click and then click in an open cell, just get the highlight removed. And another way that I can change these column widths is manually by dragging on the dividing line between the column labels. So I'll drag over here and expand column A, and when the mouse pointer is moved into this area, as it crosses that line, it transforms itself, and when it looks like that, drag, and I've expanded column B. Okay, so again, I'm a teacher. I'm pretending that I'm setting this spreadsheet up to store grades, and we'll pretend furthermore that it's at the beginning of the semester, and one of the things I would have available is a class roster, so I'll go ahead and input the student names. I'm a very fast typist. I had previously stored this on the clipboard, knowing that you probably didn't want me to type all this in. Didn't want to watch me type all this in. Okay, so what we have here, maybe you recognize this, maybe you don't, but this is the real names of the cast of the Three Stooges. Okay, so when I was growing up, that was before the days of PBS, and we didn't watch Mr. Rogers or Sesame Street. We watched the good stuff like the Three Stooges. So they were always my favorite. And so I now have them as students in my class. And we're going to now, just as rapidly as I can, put in data into these columns. I want to, make quick time of this. So we're going to sort of go through the semester very rapidly and pretend that we've done some teaching, they've done some learning, and they're going to demonstrate what they know by completing some kind of project. And I find out that, everybody did extremely well. So I could type in 100, 100, 100 if everybody was to receive 100, or a quicker way of doing that would be to click on the first cell after I type it in, and then drag down with this little fill handle, the rectangle in the bottom right corner of the cell pointer. So I drag down, and when I release the button on the mouse, it's going to fill 100 into each one of those cells. What I'm doing is performing what's called an absolute copy. When I copy text or when I copy a number, it copies, the spreadsheet program copies in an absolute way. That is, it does not make any kind of adjustment, but rather it copies that base value repeatedly in the same form that it was originally typed in. So there I've very quickly given everybody a 100, and time marches on. I give a first quiz, and I will cut back on the color commentary here and just put some grades in. Okay, so I've reached the point in the semester now where it's time to give a test, and put in some test grades here. And I keep marching through the semester and give another project, and my projects are easy. So again, I will use the fill handle in the mouse pointer and drag down and copy that. Give another quiz, and realize that something out of the ordinary has happened, in that as I get ready to record these grades, I realize that Jerome got a 99, and Shemp here gets a 98, and Larry gets a 97, and that everyone's score just so happens is one less than the value of the previous person's score. Now, if that actually happened, there'd be a quick way to deal with this, and this tool is useful, for a variety of things. So this isn't the most appropriate use of the tool, but nevertheless, I'll demonstrate it in this spreadsheet, and then I'll come back and use it in another spreadsheet later on. But what I'm going to do is, if I recognize that pattern, I'm just going to highlight the base cell, and I'm not dragging by the fill handle. I'm just highlighting the base cell and then dragging the mouse down, which has the effect of highlighting all the cells in the range of G2 through G7. Then on the home page, I'm going to go over to the editing ribbon, and I have a fill tool, and to the right of it's an arrow, and if I choose the pull down menu that results from clicking the arrow, one of my options is series. Okay, so this is the fill series option, and you don't use this all that often, but when it's possible to use it, it's extremely convenient. So I'm going to choose fill series, and it gives me a dialog box. Now, because I had previously highlighted the cells, it recognizes that I want to manipulate the cells down a column, and furthermore, it's going to suggest that I perform a linear progression, and that's what I want to do. And it wants to use a step size, wants to increment each cell off the base cell by a value of 1, and what I want to do is decrement the cells off the base cell by a value of -1. So I'll go ahead and change the step size to -1, click the OK button, and there it is. Okay, so I'll come back to fill series later on and show you that. It's handy, especially when we work with dates. All right, and I've given a second quiz. I'm going to give a second test, and he drops a little bit there, but this guy drops a lot more. And okay, so these are my scores for the second test. And finally, I do a project here, and we'll put in a 100. What the heck? Makes it so much easier. I don't have to grade the projects. All I do is just give everybody 100. Okay, and I would be clicking the save button, obviously, and closing up the spreadsheet. Okay, so it wants to save this, and I will change the name. Grade example 1, and I'm going to save this, where I have some other things stored, so bear with me here. On the desktop, I want to store it specifically. In a folder that I'm not seeing. Oh, there it is. Okay, so I have it saved. Now, I'm going to take a bit of a break because I want to put the remaining part of this lecture in a separate recording. So I'll stop this for now. It's saved. I'll come back to it in the next recording.